everybody. It's Heather, and it's Monday, and I'm so glad to be with you. I wanted to take some time to just talk a little bit about what's going on in our world. Not only are we, kind of at an endemic now, we're recognizing pandemics last for a long time. I've done a lot of research on that, and it's like, pandemics generally last 4 to 5 years. That's the average. And we're 2 years into this sucker. So we're still going to be here for a bit, I think. However, you do transition to a different way of managing this pandemic situation and still continuing to live your life, go to work, do all the things to care for your family, care for your loved ones, care for your community. And I think that's important to talk about care for our community, given what's happening across the globe, very far from the United States. Everyone's worried about gas prices here in the US, and yet my heart continually breaks for the people of Ukraine who are being really just bullied and wounded by Russia. And it's heartbreaking. And so it's hard for me to watch our worries about gas prices, which, yes, it's going to impact us. It's going to impact our family members who are already living paycheck to paycheck. But I just always want to look with compassion and empathy on what the people of Ukraine are going through, leaving their homes at a moment's notice, being separated from their spouses as the men are required to stay in the country and serve in the military. And they seem absolutely honored to serve their country, to be there for their country. That has touched me the most, is their absolute reverence and loyalty to their homeland. And that means something, right? Homeland means something. We understand what that means. We understand because of 9/11, for example, that is, was so far, it's 20 years ago. However, we can recall what that was like to have our homeland invaded. And so for the people of Ukraine, I am just wanting to send out as much love and light and support as possible. And there are many, many organizations that are sending money and getting boots on the ground in the Ukraine. I particularly follow Glennon Doyle. She has a organization that she works with, so I recommend you go check out her Instagram page. You will see her organization information there. And then there's a lot of other people who do a lot of great work. Red Cross is another one that I would strongly recommend that you provide resources if you're able to do so. They are actually sending people there to do the work. So anyhow, my heart is breaking for Ukraine and the world, because what happens over there affects us, and not just gas prices. I shared something on Facebook. It was a little meme of a bear and a rabbit sitting next to each other. It was like an artistic drawing. And I do not know who the artist was, otherwise I would say, because it was adorable. But it was a bear and a rabbit, and they were having a conversation. And essentially the rabbit, the bear was talking about, hey, look at what's going on over there. And the rabbit said, well, that doesn't have anything to do with me. And the bear corrected the rabbit and said, what happens over there is happening here. In other words, we're connected. We're on this beautiful little planet, a tiny little planet in the context of the universe, in the context of the other planets that are in our solar system, like Jupiter and Saturn and Uranus. And so, wow, do I think that we have so much to learn about how we show up and care for one another on this planet. And that includes nature and animals right? Caring for our world, caring for our water supply, caring for our animals, caring for our forests and our trees that oxygenate our planet, caring for the people who have always been on the margins of society, our indigenous friends, the indigenous people that were here before the Europeans showed up and decided to take some land. Our beautiful people of color, our beautiful ethnicities, right? The diversity of our country. And yet those marginalized folks need to be brought to the center because we need to see them and we need to honor them. Just like the Ukraine is experiencing, they were on the margins and now all of a sudden they're this focal point where now everybody's paying attention. We need to be paying attention to the people in our country who are on the margins and bring them to the center and see them and hear them and learn from them. So I know that's a lot to start with, but I really wanted to kind of express my heart and my heartache and my heartbreak over what's going on in our world and in our country that I love. I love our homeland just like the Ukrainians love their homeland. I want America, the United States of America, to be the very best we can be. And I believe we can do that. I have faith. I'm an optimist. That's who I am. Okay, so let's go ahead and look at some content and then we'll wrap it up. So leaning in, life hack when it feels hard. So this is, I'm kind of changing the look so you see a bit more of me and then you see the slideshow. So let's jump right in. This is really important. I've presented this content before, but I want to circle back to it because it's so important. So a couple of weeks ago when I did my live, I talked about the iceberg and there was this image in it and it's what we see and what we don't see. So what we see is the top of the iceberg, but what we don't see below the iceberg is much bigger. And which is more dangerous, what we see or what we don't see? Well, if you look at this image, you will see that what we see on the top is not bad. There's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing wrong with marital status, right? Or a job preference or personality or style or your family roles or what kind of friends you are, your temperament, your behavior, your habits. Do you like to exercise or you are a journaler? Do you like doing scrapbooking? Do you have hobbies? Those are all integral parts of you that make you you. So there's nothing wrong with it. But we see them. They're kind of front and center. When a person walks in the room and you get to know them, you get the sense of who they are. And we see that and we identify people as that, right? We identify people as that. However, below the waterline, the black line right there, you see underneath the immensity of the iceberg that's underneath the waterline. That we do not see it. It is hidden. And this is where a lot of our issues come from. Our issues being our mental health, our emotional health, what triggers us, what behavior by a loved one or a family member might activate something in us that we are not aware of, that we have not taken the time to look within ourselves to identify what is underneath, what is driving the behaviors that we see on the top of the iceberg, right? Those behaviors, those habits, those temperaments, those personality quirks all have a source. And really, the big work is understanding and coming to see and acknowledge what's beneath the waterline. So what we don't see is absolutely the most dangerous. So here's the thing with the life hack on life getting hard. You see, life's always going to be hard. Life's going to be happy to show up at the doorstep with a package of whatever, and you have to open up that box and try to sift through what's in it. And it might jump out at you. It might be something that's really profound and strong or emotionally charged or, a big, yucky, nasty mess. And really, what we need to do is we need to calibrate ourselves. My GPS needs to be updated. I need to have a sense of where I'm going to go next. What's the right next step? So I really need to reorient myself to be aware of this challenge is coming at me. What do I do next? So one of the first things we feel is discomfort. When life's challenges show up, we feel discomfort. But I want to encourage us. I learned this in my relationship therapist training called Imago. And really, discomfort is growth wanting to happen. So when we're feeling uncomfortable, it's not a bad thing. It's actually a good thing. It's our body's way of telling us, oh, there's this thing that's making us uncomfortable. We can either choose to grow by leaning into it, or we can choose to not acknowledge it, push it down, and avoid it or deny that it's happening. Which one is better, right? Which one is more ideal? Which one would you want for your loved one or your best friend or your child? So for ourselves, we need to get to a place where we can become friends with discomfort and recognize that discomfort is actually a great helper, that we can learn how to lean in to grow. So here's 3 things that I think are going to get us there, along with some other important aspects. So number 1, autonomy. One of the life hacks of dealing with life's challenges and knowing what to do next is recognize that you're in charge of your life. You're the boss. I'm the boss of my life. I get to choose. In other words, I can feel empowered to take direct action to change my life, just like you can do the same thing. Direct action. You don't have to ask somebody for permission to make a change. If you feel like your eating habits, for example, are impacting maybe some medical issues like acid reflux or indigestion or gut issues, you can take direct action to say, I'm going to change my diet. I'm going to reach out to a nutritionist. I'm going to go to my doctor. I'm going to talk to someone to learn some information. That is a direct action. What I mean by direct action is you don't have to ask anybody for permission. You can just do it. And that's very empowering. You can also, with autonomy, feel in control of your decisions and the choices you want to make. There is something about taking your power back that is so great, because the rest of the world out there, we're not in control of any of that. However, we can control our decisions and the choices that we make. And the last one is really learning to trust yourself to make the decisions that are right for you, regardless of what others think or feel. And I know, guys, that's a big one because codependency is a major factor in that. And I know when we make decisions for ourselves, we feel like we're being selfish. We're not. We simply are making a decision for ourselves. All right, competence. So this is a big one. One of the ways that we can really learn how to embrace our autonomy and our decision making is realizing that we have the competence we need to learn new things, to try on new behaviors, to achieve change. And we can have access to new resources and tools to learn. We can reach out to a coach or a mentor like myself, or even a therapist to walk through strategies and new ideas. We can gain competence and a deeper understanding of what's needed to keep growing and keep taking action. So competence is that really confidence builder that helps you and me realize that we know what's best and we're going to take this action and really be precise and concise on what we want and where we want to get to. And last is connection. I feel a sense of belonging. So there is nothing more powerful than feeling connected to a group of people who are going through similar things. That is why support groups and group counseling sessions and recovery work is so powerful. The 12-step recovery groups that I've been a part of have been the most transformative because you're really meeting with people who are kind of in the same place you are. They really have a goal, and the goal lines up. Their story that brought them there is going to be as different as night and day between everybody. Your story is completely different than mine, but we have a similar goal of growth and leaning in and recognizing that we can get better even in uncomfortable situations. There's nothing more profound. So coaches, mentors, trusted friends, and groups help us work through things and be accountable. Be accountable to our behavior and how we show up in the world. Therapists and psychotherapists and psychiatrists are a resource that can help us navigate mental and emotional health concerns. I am not a licensed counselor or therapist. It's very important that you understand the difference between a life coach like myself and a therapist and a psychiatrist. But I do know people in those fields and would be happy to help direct you to someone if you feel like you need that type of support. Also, there's a really great app called Cerebral, and that is transforming how we approach getting access to mental health resources and medication management. If you are in that place where you feel like you need some additional support, Cerebral is awesome. Now, I know leaning in is hard work. It is hard work, and doing it alone is so very hard. We need a life hack. We need a life hack to keep our feel good while we keep growing through life's challenges. So discomfort, remember, is part of the healing process. Inherently, discomfort is risky. Taking the risk to feel uncomfortable and take an action can really feel like stepping out of your comfort zone. That leads to self-examination. So self-examination is talking about the waterline. Going beneath that waterline is really doing self-examination and growing in your self-awareness. It's difficult because it brings to light unconscious wounds that shape our behavior. Maybe pain or memories from the past that we weren't aware of kind of come up, and we feel that initial pain, and we don't want to feel those emotions because they feel scary and they trigger us in a major way. Deliberate investigation into our behaviors, habits, beliefs, mindsets, personal narrative, fears, and reactions. You're deliberately going there. That is why it's so helpful to have a therapist or a coach or a psychotherapist or a psychiatrist to be able to navigate this if you feel like you can't do it alone. If you feel like a coach is great, but I need a therapist, you can absolutely do both. Self-examination begins a deep dive into personal growth and self-awareness, and I promise you, on the other side, you will totally blossom. There is something powerful about learning yourself and knowing yourself. And getting support groups, recovery groups, coaching like myself, or clinical therapy, which is a therapist or a psychotherapist or a psychiatrist. So taking little small steps in our personal growth empowers us to accept life as it is. Number one is autonomy. I'm in charge of my life. That's a first step. Autonomy. I'm in charge of my life. I can make direct action to make really quick changes. 2, competence. I can be confident in the fact that I'm competent and able of learning new ideas, learning new concepts, trying on new behaviors, failing along the way, and getting back up. And connection. I feel a sense of belonging. Finding your group of people, finding a coach like myself, partnering with a therapist is all going to be very, very helpful information, okay? So this here on the left-hand side is just kind of some examples. And I'm going to post this on Instagram, so you're going to see these images just like they are here. But it's kind of little mantras that you can try on. And this is in my Lean In. This is an example from my phase 2 of my coaching program, where we begin to understand and try on mantras that we can tell ourselves that spiritual, emotional, and mental health brings meaningful change to our lives so we can feel good. The first one, for example, is I am growing by practicing self-awareness, self-compassion, and self-care. I like me. Gosh, that's empowering to say that. I am proud of who I am right now and who I am becoming. I'm still in work. Like, we're still in progress. There's no place for perfectionism or self-judgment or self-betrayal. I realize that vulnerability empowers me to be the real me. I don't need masks. I can be who I am, and I like me. So these are some mantras that I just wanted to share with you guys that you could try on and see what fits, see what feels nice for you. And maybe none of them are, but these are examples that you can kind of write out what really is going to help you hold on to when life shows up at your door with that package that you have to open and you're not sure what's inside, right? So it's a little scary. So these little small steps, mantras, and learning kind of these three and incorporating autonomy, competence, and connection into your daily life are ways that you can begin to feel so much more confident and empowered to make the decisions you want to make about your life. So here's these writing prompts, and I'm just going to take you through them real quick, and just as an example of how I would invite you to walk through these. So I'll use myself as an example. A recent situation where I felt like life was hard was when I went to visit my dad in October. His health has been in decline, and it felt really hard. When I did that, I might have looked, acted, sounded like I wanted to fix things. So the first thing I did was I went to his apartment with my sister-in-law and began to clean everything, because that's how I show up, hypervigilant. I'm an overfunctioner, which means I'm going to want to get on it. I want a task list. I want to do something to help myself feel better about this really powerless situation that I'm not in control of because of my dad's health and kind of his refusal to kind of participate in taking care of himself. It reminded me of a time growing up when I was sick. When I was a kid, I tended to be sickly, and I had mono. And I was out of school for weeks. And I remember feeling really not in control of my own body. I felt sick. I didn't like how I felt, and I wanted it to go away. When I remember that story, I feel powerless. I feel just powerless, helpless. What I think I needed then, was someone to help me navigate my way out of that powerlessness and helplessness to gain some autonomy, right? That to kind of be in charge of myself, my life. What can I do to help myself feel better? I'm a creative person, so it would have been interesting to see my parents or my mother offer, well, what are some things you can do creatively to help yourself feel better? Even though physically you're sick, you can't control the physical effects, you can do some other things to help yourself. That would have been nice. But I didn't get it, so I just kind of avoided and denied how I was feeling, and kind of just disassociated. It makes sense that I did that because I didn't know what else to do. Right? I did not feel like I had autonomy. I did not feel like I was competent enough to figure out how to help myself feel better. I didn't know as a 9-10-year-old kid. And I needed somebody to walk me through that, but I didn't have that available. So it totally makes sense that I did that. Knowing this, I might try to be more aware of the times that I'm avoiding or denying how I'm feeling on the inside. So, for example, with my dad, instead of cleaning the apartment, it may have been more helpful for me to just be more aware that I was feeling that helplessness, that I was feeling that powerlessness. Accepting as of life being hard feels healthy. One way I can help myself in this work might be to continue my work in my emotional awareness and in my emotional health work, as well as working with my therapist. Next time I feel the urge to control, avoid, hide from a situation that feels scary, hard, uncomfortable, I might try to just allow myself to feel what's going on in my body first before I go to my brain, which is where I'm going to be overfunctioning and hypervigilant and wanting to just fix everything. And a great way to do this is a tool that I offer, and I'm going to offer it at the end. It's called the Roadmap, and it's a really good way to begin to help navigate through those triggering situations, those challenging situations, to navigate your emotional response and reaction, and how to recalibrate your way through it. One benefit trying this new behavior could be feeling more autonomous and more empowered, and that I am competent, that I do know what resources are available to me to help myself, to help take care of myself, because I will take care of myself. And that's competence. And having that connection with my therapist and with trusted groups and recovery groups are really outstanding ways that I show up for myself. So discomfort is growth wanting to happen. Please, please remember that. I'm going to post these images on Instagram just to remind you. I encourage you to screenshot this one. All right, so at letsfeelgoodnow.com /get the goods, you can go there to get your free copy of Navigating Hard Emotions, the Roadmap. And the way is through, not around. Can't go over it, can't go under it, gotta go through it. And that's free, so you'll be able to go to that link and get that resource right away. It also includes the audio teaching, so I walk you through the workbook as well. Okay, that's enough for today, guys. And I will drop this. This will be a podcast located on all of the places and platforms that you listen to your podcasts, at Spotify, Apple, Google, all the different platforms. You Can Feel Good Even When Life Doesn't is the name of the podcast. And that's it, my friends. I hope you have a wonderful couple of weeks. I will see you in 2 weeks. Take care. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.